JC Horn should collect royalties from Charmin because that bitch is soft. This is altitude adjustment.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.
Thank you all so much for joining us. My name's Mario Vitanzi. That beautiful bastard is Patrick Chiotti, and we appreciate you all being so patient as Pat was gathering all of the information that he needs in order to unleash hell on this podcast. Pat, let's just start with this right out of the gate. JC Horn was bitching and moaning about the Broncos running up the score, even though it only ended up being a 14-point game. Even though the Broncos only scored 28 points, and maybe the bitchiest of the bitch move, Pat, was the fact that he said to Sean Payton after the game, "Hey, y'all run up the score, that's lame as fuck," but then proceeded to beeline in the other direction, Pat. He didn't stand on business. What a joke. Thoughts on that?
So this is like, it was even crazier to me because, like, you've been around Sean Payton since you were like a child. You know who this guy is. You know exactly who this person is. You've been around him since you were a little kid. This should be nothing new. You lost by 14 points. I'm sorry. If, like Coach said, one of my favorite things that my coach used to say was, if you don't like it, stop it.
Play better.
If you don't like it,
he wasn't wrong. You need to play better.
You're going to get mad at me for executing my offense? You're going to get mad at me for executing my game plan? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry that Cortland Sutton cooked you up and down the field coming off a week where he didn't even have a target, bro. Like, why don't you worry about your damn self? It's not, and I will say this, Pat, it's not his fault. It's not his fault that he got drafted before Patrick Surtain. And it's a shame because he never should have been drafted before Pat Surtain. But you start acting like that, and it's like, not only are you a far inferior player on the field, but you're far inferior in character as well. That's just pathetic, man. So
I
love Sean Payton for what he said.
I guarantee Sean shot a text to Joe Horn and was like, "Hey, when did your son become a bitch?" I mean, in all honesty, like it was crazier to me because of the personal connection. But then you're like complaining about it. It's a 14-point game. Who gives a shit? Like, do better, play better.
Do we think that Joe Horn said something to his son? It's like, hey, nut up and be a man. Like, NFL, I didn't raise no bitch.
Hey, the Kodiak Broncos put up a great comment. The Saints put up 47 on them week 1, and they never complained about them running up the score. Exactly, dude. Like, what are we talking about? Because they executed a trick play on 4th and 2. Like, who gives a shit? This is the time when you're supposed to be throwing out we're not in field goal range and I don't really want to punt here. Let's just try something. We've all been there. But I had a great conversation with Frankie and Robbie earlier today of because of that one tweet that we all saw from the guy who looks like a George Costanza wannabe.
No, bro, that's Homer Simpson right there. God, Bill Barnwell.
Yeah,
it's have got to be just gasping for air.
Look, when we put these plays in, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's on the offensive side or the special team side, when we put these plays in, you spend so much time practicing it. You spend so much time. And you're repping it. They had to have been repping that for weeks at this point.
Probably dating back to training camp, Pat.
So you're repping this, and then it's like, okay, maybe we have a chance to do this. Like, in this situation, we'll pull this out, right? And they saw it. And the whole time that's happening, for those who have never been in that situation of being a coach and installing a trick play and calling it, this is what happens. You call the play, you look at your head coach and you go, I really hope this fucking works. And then you sit there and you're just staring and you're like, I really hope this fucking works. This better work. And the players are all thinking, fuck, we better execute this perfectly. And then it happens. If it doesn't work, you go, ah, shit, that was bad. If it works, you go, oh my God, I can't believe that worked. Like, you just don't want them to celebrate something that they've been working really hard to do. Who cares? Who cares? It's football. That was a fun play. And it was awesome to see the Broncos break that out. But like, you're going to bitch and
it was great that it was Michael Burton. You know, he had such a limited role on this offense, like we've discussed, Pat, that it's nice that he finally got involved somehow. I was so excited. This is what I've been pounding the table for, man. I want them to use Burton. And it doesn't matter that it's a 4th and 2 play up 21. Give him his flowers, bro. Let him, the man touches the football once every 4 games, once every 5 games. Like, why are we going to piss and moan about this? Big deal. Now, I will say this. In terms of the fake field goal, to me, it was objectively.
I hated that.
This is why it was funny, because they jump off sides. And clearly the play that they drew up is to gain a max 5-6 yards.
Yeah.
And they backed him up 5 yards. And so I'm thinking, Pat, like, you know what? Let Lutz attempt the field goal. That's great.
That's what I said.
See if he can hit a 60-yarder, because if you miss it, it doesn't matter. And if you make it, then he gets a little bit of confidence. Yeah. Maybe you have to kick a 60-yarder further down the road in the season, and then Will Lutz can look back at that and say, hey, I already hit a 60-yarder. This is nothing. So the fake field goal, to me, it's just like, why are you still running it? Like, was this a missed call, or was this just like pure pettiness where they're just like, hey, you know what? We already called it. Just do it again. We'll just see if something happens.
I think
and he broke a couple tackles, and if they didn't have that penalty, he would have run for a first down. He was really close. So, like, to that extent, that is a little bit bush league for me. But at the same time, at the end of the day, and someone said it earlier in the chat, this is the highest level of competition that you could possibly achieve. This is the NFL. Dudes are getting paid 7-8 figures to play this game. And they're getting paid on both sides of the ball. You don't like what's happening, do something about it, instead of being a bitch and running your mouth after the game, and then not even like being man enough to like say it to his face. That's crazy. And I have such a hard time believing that his lineage played in the NFL. He had to have learned better.
For Sean Payton. Does anybody know? Does anybody have a transcript of what was said? Because I just want to know. I heard what Horn said, but like, there's also
you couldn't hear what Sean Payton said because he was walking away. He walked away. Like he was talking shit, walking away from Sean Payton, and said it, and then turned his back, and then just walked away. And Sean Payton tried to respond, and I'm sure it would have been something douchey, but I would have loved it.
He said, like, y'all trying to run up the score, that's lame as fuck. That's what he said.
That was what Horn said.
And like I heard that very clearly, but I couldn't hear what Sean Payton said. This was like they're walking on the field, Horn's backing up. He says, y'all trying to run up the score, that's lame as fuck. And then walked off. And Payton was like walking to meet Canales, met with Canales, and it's like very formal, very nice, like, hey, good game, like, you know, and then just like nothing happened. Like, if I'm Sean Payton, I was like, hey, you need to get your boy. Like, don't make me call his dad. Honestly, wait, hang on. I know for a fact that's what Sean Payton said. Sean Payton was like, JC, I'm going to call your dad. I'm calling your daddy. He's going to come down here and he's going to whoop your ass the same way that I just did. The same way that I just did.
So we had a couple questions as we were waiting, Pat, and the first one that I want to discuss, and it's something that I definitely wanted to talk about with you.
My son had a pizza party for his soccer team.
It's okay, man. Nobody is upset.
He had to turn his tickets in.
The anticipation built, and it made everybody even more excited. So I want to start Fanatic Dak. Thanks again for watching, Dak. You're here every week. You're the man. Appreciate you. Curious your thoughts on Javonte Williams. He looked slow this weekend, wasn't as effective in the run game. And I wanted to touch on this anyway, Pat, because you and I talked about how after the New Orleans game, like during the New Orleans game, we're like, is Javonte back? I think Javonte's back. Like it was a bad run defense.
Yeah.
Fair. But he looked how he needed to look. He was more decisive. He was breaking tackles. He was hitting the hole expeditiously. And all of that was non-existent on Sunday. And the Panthers do not have a good run defense. Better than New Orleans, I grant you, but certainly not good enough to completely put a stopper on Javonte Williams. And as we get into this discussion, Pat, about this team as a playoff team, playoff contender, like what kind of run can they make? It's not going to happen if you get the Javonte Williams that you got on Sunday. And I said last week when Bree was filling in, everybody wanted to see the Bo Nix game, and that's what we ended up seeing, and that was fantastic. I wanted to see another get-right game for Javonte. I wanted him to string two of those games together because no one was worried about the Panthers. They're a JV team. They're a freshman team, okay? They're a practice squad team. Nobody was actually worried about them. No one was worried about J.C. Horn, okay? What we're worried about is at Baltimore, at Kansas City, and then Atlanta at home. The toughest 3-game stretch throughout their entire season. And honestly, these next 3 games, I think, Pat, are going to dictate what that playoff picture looks like. I wanted Javonte to continue what he did in New Orleans, and he did just the opposite. And so while I'm cautiously optimistic about these next 2 away games, because the Ravens surprisingly do not have a good scoring defense, and they give up, I think, the fourth or fifth most yards in the league. But that was what we wanted to see from Javonte. So you tell me, I know you've watched the film. What did you see from Javonte? Was it like more the same of what we saw last year in the beginning of the season? And like, what can we even expect? Like, I don't know what to expect from Javonte week in and week out.
It's tough. I think the situations that he's in are just not favorable for him. And I think just like some of these concepts that they ran with him, like a lot of the similar stuff, but like it just doesn't look like he has the lanes there. Like it's a lot of traffic, a lot of stuff gets clogged up, and then it's just like he just kind of has to put his head down and churn the legs.
So you're not putting it as much on Javonte.
I mean, yes, it's half and half, right? Like
he needs to be better.
Yeah, there's been a couple of times, like I'm still watching through some of this film, but like there's been a couple of times where he does like the so they even said it on the broadcast, like the Le'Veon Bell weight. Right, like he was.
Someone mentioned that in the chat earlier. Yeah,
and he was being patient with his legs, but like I think there's on some of these runs that I've seen, man, like there's just not a lot of options for him to go to. Like shit's just
the problem, he doesn't have the burst of a Le'Veon Bell to go 0 to 60 and be patient for that hole and then
doesn't have enough brain damage either. Like it's
fair.
When you have that much brain damage, just seeing the
he's kooky dukes for sure. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell's gone.
But like as far as Javonte is concerned, like I don't know if I would run. They love running this like short zone toss with Javonte. I don't know if he's the guy to do that. Like I know that certain people like that concept for him, but I don't think that he's the guy to run it. Like that is more just about him. Like that's like getting them downhill quickly, right? Which we'd love to do that. And I mentioned before, like let's pull Quinn a little bit more, and they did that in the New Orleans game. Like let's run some power with Quinn. Let's run some trap with Quinn.
Get the belly moving.
Yeah, and I feel like they did it, and then they go away from it. And this has been my gripe with Peyton and the offense this season has been like, stop going away from the things that work. They love the inside zone, like the split zone with the fast motion from Adkins. They fucking love that play, and it works great for play action. But some of these other run concepts, I'm just like, it sucks. Because like there could be an opportunity, but there's just nothing there. It's like the defense is just clogging shit up, and the offensive linemen aren't really getting that much of a push. When you have fucking Garrett Bowles pulling and Lee blocking for like I'm looking at this one play. He got 5 yards on this play, but they're running essentially counter, and they have fucking Powers and Bowles pulling to the right side. Powers gets out and he turns this guy inside. Great. That's fantastic. Garrett Bowles is fucking chugging along. Like, and Javonte had to wait for him. You shouldn't have to wait. Get your fucking ass off the line and go. Block somebody. There were 2 defenders out there. All Bowles had to do was just use his fucking eyes and pick one and then take him out. And Javonte could have had a better lane. It looks like Troutman also kind of missed off of a double team block, but I digress. Like when you have Garrett Bowles fucking pulling out, which apparently he doesn't do, but when you have him,
he is a Mormon.
He is a Mormon. When you have him pulling out in front, that's not ideal. That's not the ideal person I would want. Like I would love Powers. Run some GC counter. Let's get real sexy. Let's pull Forsythe and Powers, have Forsythe kick out and Powers go through the whole, like, give that to me. I don't want to see Garrett Bowles' big fat fucking ass trudging down, like trying to beat Javonte Williams to the spot. Like it's not good for business. Don't love it. So like they got more creative in the run game and then they like went away from the things that worked is the long answer to that question. So mostly on Javonte, but like still some gripes with the run game design.
And I'll say this, Pat, like if we're going to find a silver lining, you wanted the run game to be better. It wasn't good enough. You know, Jaleel McLaughlin is going to have some flashes, but he's a very one-dimensional player. He's more of a gadget guy, okay? He's good for 5-10 touches max. It's like the little swing pass to the outside where he can beat his man to the corner. I think he scored 3 or 4 touchdowns this year doing that. Give me some of that, but he's far from a workhorse. He's a change of pace guy, and he's not a great change of pace guy. He'll have some good runs, but you know his vision isn't really up to snuff anyway. But the positive that I pulled from that is because the run game was struggling, Bo had to be even better. And oh my good Lord, baby Jesus, was Bo Nix on fire on Sunday. And again, Pat, like I don't care who the defense is because the thing that I noticed is he's going through his progressions and I don't think that he made one mistake the entire game. I don't think that there was one, aside from the sack that he took, I think, what was it, like the second quarter?
He didn't have anything on that.
But the throws that he made, it's like all good decisions. And I think the one time that he threw into double coverage was that 50, 60-yard bomb that he threw to Cortland Sutton. That should have been PI. And I think that's an instance of, and I talked about this with Bree last week, is it seems like Bo is getting more comfortable throwing those 50-50 balls to Cortland Sutton. And I think that's what you need because that was the biggest thing that Russell Wilson did well last year that Bo wasn't doing because he's a rookie quarterback and it's difficult for a rookie to trust any sort of wide receiver with a 50-50 ball. And it seems like he's starting to break through. So even though the run game struggled, Bo had to step up and he stepped up in a huge way. But more to that point, Cousin Kenny wants to know, how do you view the young receivers right now? And I'll actually expand that, Pat.
Yeah.
Let's include every wide receiver and how you're seeing it because we know the room is not great. We'll say bottom 10, bottom half of the league. The depth is there. The youth is there, and that's nice. We've seen flashes from Franklin, even though he needs to be much better. We've seen flashes from Devon Vele. He seems like a star in the making, even though he's 28, so he's not really young per se. What are you seeing with this wide receiver core? And then I'll expand it and say, do they need to make a move for a receiver at the deadline, or what are you doing with the deadline?
How do I see this? How do I see this room? I don't think I can answer this question. I'm not qualified.
Does that mean that we're going to get a visit from a very special guest? Oh, everybody, you waited 20 minutes for the show. We're just going to wait a little bit longer because we're going to be joined by Coach Pat.
It's Coach Pat. I took the hat off because this is like deep down in my loins, I'm a wide receiver.
Way down in there.
Through and through. Okay.
Yeah.
This wide receiver group pisses me off week after week.
Why, Pat?
And it's for a number of reasons, Mario. The first reason being, I thought you had to sniff a line to bring. Hey,
how do you know that we didn't?
Hey, listen. Who wants a bump? Because Coach Pat is about to bust out the bag. Okay.
Allegedly.
I'm allegedly. Don't get after me, HR. No, every week it's like we see some of these tweets about like, oh, Bo Nix is holding the ball too long, blah blah blah. Brother, I am begging these wide receivers to get some fucking separation. I have had to watch Cortland Sutton, all 6'4", 215 pounds of him, get held up by minor contact by receivers or by corners that are like 5'10", 190 soaking wet. How are you that big but not that strong? Like I don't get it. Another fumble this last game. I remember when he fumbled not once but twice in the Miami game last year. How embarrassing that was. I never fumbled once. Personally, I took it for real. You're in the NFL. Take that shit for real. Protect the fucking football. That's the number one thing. Protect the fucking football. When the ball catches your hands, it does not come out. No matter what. It doesn't matter if you're punched. It doesn't matter if you're hit hard. It doesn't matter if Ed Reed is screaming down the fucking line and hitting you. It does not matter. You hold on to that fucking
You know that's coming. That's what you signed up for.
Literally. Chris Harris just tell me all the time, like, this is grown man football. You signed up for it. Like, hold on to the fucking ball. This as receivers, blocking, hey, I'm good with that. They're pretty good. Like, they're really good with no block, no rock. But like, outside of that, it just seems like none of these guys can really, truly get open. And like, there's no like creative ways for them to get open. I've talked about before, like how they're slow off the ball. I feel like they're really slow off the ball. I feel like they're not very explosive at all. Marvin Mims, like, what did we trade up for? Because this is not the same player that I saw at Oklahoma. It is not the same player. Like,
this isn't even the same player we saw in limited time last year, Pat.
And like the throw before the half, they're trying to get a chunk play, and Bo just rips the ball up the seam. I'm gonna look at it here, but Bo just rips the ball. I remember seeing on the broadcast, Mims didn't even turn his fucking head. What are you doing?
He wasn't expecting the pass, Pat. He's 20-25 yards downfield running a seam. And he was shocked that the ball was on him as quickly as it was. And I'll tell you this, I had talked to someone who was at the game, and we were talking about it, and we were talking about that specific play. And I was like, you know what? It was right before the half. He would have had to score. They were out of timeouts. Probably doesn't score. And he's like, you know what? From where I was standing, if like the way that Bo led him, where if Mims is paying attention, he's running into that ball, he's not breaking stride. He puts a move on somebody, puts his foot in the ground, makes one guy miss, which – that's what Mims can do as a return man, right? He can make a couple guy misses and miss and accelerate upfield. He's like, I'm not so sure he wouldn't have scored on that play. And that makes me even more upset because, like, the plays are there, but they have to be made.
They snapped that ball at the 38-yard line.
Do you have it? You want to pull it up?
He turned his head at the 42. He started to turn his head at the 42-yard line. Your head should have been turned already. It should have been turned. You catch that, and yeah, they're absolutely right. Yeah, let's pull it up. Let's do it. Fuck it. Let's look at this.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it. Cut it in post. All right. Bring it to full screen so everybody can see this. All right. So obviously, like this, by the way, for those Denver media people, this is what we would call prevent defense. Okay.
Well, no, Pat, I was told that what Bo Nix did against the Chargers, that was prevent defense. Are you saying that this is different from that?
Yes. Okay.
Of course it's different from that, you numpties. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So we're an full empty. This is just going to be, we're going to take a shot downfield to get a couple chips. Bo lets it go right here. Turn your fucking head. You're running a seam. You know you have inside. Like, if you get the inside leverage, the note should always be, if you get inside leverage, you're running a seam, the defender is outside of you, look inside now.
You're open. That's when you're
open. His head is not turned. Like, turn your fucking head. You're down, like you're 15 yards downfield almost. Turn your fucking head. You catch this and you make a play. Because look, if you just went inside, this dude's coming inside, all one move, one little cut.
That's what I'm saying, Pat. He catches that at full speed. He puts his foot in the ground with that near safety converging on him, and he beats him to the sideline. That could be 6.
You're telling me that this guy's jogging down the field. This guy's jogging. What are we doing? This is why Marvin Mims is in the fucking doghouse, y'all. Because he makes little mental mistakes like this. The New Orleans game, that drop that he had, I was beside myself. I could not believe that. Sure, whatever. Oh, he didn't get his head around in time. His head should have been around. And it hit him in the hands and he dropped it on a crucial play. Bo made that's a good throw by Bo. Pressure facing, oh my God. But this is just a microcosm of how I feel about this wide receiver room. It's the little things, and they don't do the little things well. If you don't do the little things well, you're not going to do the big things well either.
And it adds up.
And it just continues to add up. Cortland's, me talking about Cortland Sutton getting a fucking 5'9" corner, RIP. Garrett Williams could have locked Cortland Sutton down on any given week. Because all you would have to do is play off. He runs at you. All you got to do is just put not even 2 hands, just a hand, and he'll stop completely. It's so infuriating. Fight through contact. Get extra yards. Devon Vele, and I'm not even kidding. Yes, Lil Jordan Humphrey was our best wide receiver going into this week, but the fumble took that away from him. Devon Vele is the best wide receiver on the Denver Broncos right now. And I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. He does everything at 100% and he does it fucking well.
I'm not going to argue with you on that, Pat. I think you're 100% right.
I am so impressed by the fact that they were able to scoop this guy where they did. Who cares if he's a little bit older? We'll make that fucking work. But it's paying off huge. He is outworking every single fucking person on this team, and he's still a fucking rookie. I'm sorry. This whole room is gonna need an overhaul. This whole room is going to need an overhaul. Do they do something at the trade deadline? Here's the thing, and then I want to clear this up real quick, Pat. I don't ever think that they were in on Deontay Johnson. I know there were people in the chat talking about it. There were a lot of Bronco fans. He's a low effort guy. He's not a Sean Payton guy. Deontay Johnson would not last with Sean Payton. He couldn't even make it work with Mike Tomlin. Okay, you want to talk about ultimate diva receivers? That's not a dude that you want on your team where you're in the process of rebuilding the culture and you're trying to change things over and turn over a new leaf. Deontay Johnson is one of the last people that you ever want, because if he was worth a damn, do you honestly think the Steelers wanted to get rid of Deontay Johnson just from skill position standpoint? Absolutely not, because they only have one good wide receiver. Deontay Johnson went to Carolina because Pittsburgh didn't want him because he's a twat waffle, okay? So don't be one of these people that say that you want Deontay Johnson because the dude is a locker room cancer, okay? That is not someone that you want. Now, and I want to clear this up too, you see a lot about T. Higgins. T. Higgins isn't going anywhere. I'm sorry to break it to you. They're not trading T. Higgins. I think they're going to bring him back and they're going to extend him. They can't afford it. How are they going to pay him and Chase?
They'll figure it out.
Shout out to Zach Seegers. He brought this up on Believe in the Broncos. They're fucking poor. Cincinnati, whatever. They have no cash. They've got no they can't afford. They literally cannot afford to sign T. Higgins. They would be stupid they would be stupid not to trade him.
We're not going to talk about the Bengals because this is altitude adjustment and not skyline chili adjustment.
But I will say kudos to Zach Seegers for this though. And this was a while back, but he was like, what if the Broncos just kind of traded for Jamar Chase? If they're not going to re-sign him, I would kind of rather have Chase than Higgins at this point.
Solly, wouldn't that be nice?
I was like, that's fucking insane. But what if? Because here's how you would pose that. You're not going to be able to keep Chase and Higgins. Okay. We'll trade you Cortland Sutton, a first round pick, whatever else. We'll take Jamar Chase. Then we don't have to worry about drafting a receiver. We've got Jamar Chase, baby, and Walmart money will just be flowing. It made total sense when he said it. It's very unrealistic. I get it. But I was like, oh my God, wouldn't that be perfect? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Oh,
yes, I would be incredibly aroused if that happened, Patrick. But what if I could fart a rainbow and write it to a pot of gold? These are all things that would be wonderful. Well, that's what I'm saying.
First of all, it's not even my thought. It's not even my thought.
They're equally realistic. Okay,
it's Zach Seeger's thought. If you're gonna say that, say it to Zach. But I liked it. That's all I'm saying. That would be the only receiver that we'd be able to trade for.
Speaking of being aroused, Pat, we are going to introduce a new segment on altitude adjustment for the first time ever. Pat and I are going to tell you, because Pat just got done. We're going to reel in Coach Pat a little bit, and we appreciate him showing up. And this is exactly what the wide receiver room needs. They need to be held accountable because, again, if this team is going to continue to be a playoff team, Javonte needs to be better, and the wide receivers need to be better. Defense, holding up their end of the bargain and then some. Offensive line, holding up their end of the bargain and then some. Bo Nix, more than holding up his end of the bargain in terms of where he started and where he's at. This new segment, we're going to tell you what has us bricked up.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Welcome to the very first segment of Bricked Up on Altitude Adjustment. Pat, what got you bricked up from last Sunday?
There was a lot that got me bricked up from last Sunday. You know what? Honestly, while I think about this, because I want to make sure that we don't cross streams. What
you can't cross streams when you're bricked up.
What? Hey, now.
I'm just saying.
What got you bricked up? Oh, yeah. Take the drink.
It's an obvious answer, but it's the first rendition of the show, and I'm just going to keep it really simple. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix gave me a boner, straight up and down.
Oh,
and I had tweeted this out, Pat, and I'm going to circle back to it. I said earlier in the show, he didn't really make a bad decision.
Yeah.
I think he's 28 for 37, almost 300 yards, 4 total touchdowns, 3 through the air. There were 3 plays that stuck out to me. Okay. Ooh. And they were all dots. You already covered one of them to Mims. If we just assume that Mims is somehow tackled right when he catches the ball, it's an additional 30 yards. He probably runs, let's give him another 10, 15 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
There was another play, and there were 2 separate plays. It was on the near sideline. First one was the Lil Jordan Humphrey. And it was such a beautiful play call, and we could talk about the scheme later. But in the foreground of the view, you can see Davis Webb put his hands up. Yes. As soon as Bo Nix threw the ball, because Lil Jordan Humphrey was wide open, he had a beat on his defender, and he couldn't reel it in. Maybe a touchdown, maybe the pass takes him out of bounds, but it's a ball that needs to be caught. It's a ball that Lil Jordan Humphrey has caught before, and I don't know if it's a situation where because he hasn't really been a deep threat. Like maybe he's not working on the over the shoulder catches as much, Pat. But you and I were talking in the group chat, and in the Let's Talk Broncos group chat, we have a very specific metric for whether or not a ball is considered a drop. And that metric is, does Patrick Quiote make that catch? And in this instance, yes, Lil Jordan Humphrey dropped that pass. Marvin Mims, we can't count it as a drop because it didn't hit his hands, but that was on him.
I would have dropped that ball.
The ball, I think it was like 45 air yards, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Bo Nix threw a dot, 45 yards in the air, could not have placed it better. Dropped it right in. And again, tough catch, but Lil Jordan Humphrey needs to make it. Later in the game, has Troy Franklin again down the near sideline. That ball traveled, I think, 42 air yards. Maybe 2 or 3 inches, a little bit too long. Nope. You're right. It wasn't. It's a ball that Troy Franklin needs to catch. It's a ball that Troy Franklin has caught a lot from Bo Nix.
Whoa. LGH needs to be inactive. What?
David?
Sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
You're killing my erection right now, okay? Because we're talking about why we're bricked up and you're getting me bricked down.
A.T. Perry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I like A.T. Perry. He's fine. Lil Jordan Humphrey has been arguably the most consistent receiver on this team. He does not need to be inactive. We are just going to move on from that. Okay, we're not paying that any more attention.
Get back to being bricked.
It's okay. I need to go. Let me go 6 to midnight again. Okay. The thing that got me so bricked up about Bo Nix is, as impressive as his stat line was, it should have been even better.
Yeah.
He conceivably, realistically, should have thrown for over 400 yards and probably another touchdown or 2. I mean, if Cortland Sutton doesn't fumble at the goal line, maybe he powers in and scores another touchdown. Okay? So I wanted to use that as a transition where Bo's not getting a ton of help from the run game consistently. Yeah. He's not getting a ton of help from his receivers. And still, he is very much in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's not going to win it unless Daniels ends up missing extended time, because Daniels has been fantastic. But in October, Bo was by far the best rookie quarterback. And if you compare his current stats to Patrick Mahomes on the season,
that's playing like shit.
Strictly from a statistical standpoint,
nah, you playing like shit.
And that is why I am so bricked up. The one thing that we wanted to see, Pat, the one thing that we said repeatedly on this very show leading into the season, do not worry about the record. The number one thing that you want to see as a Bronco fan this year is Bo Nix developing, getting consistently better week in and week out, figuring out what he's not good at, like his footwork and setting his feet, and getting better. We saw a vast improvement over the course of 10 days. That is what you want to see. And now the fact that this team is 5-3 and in the playoff hunt and has a very real possibility to make the playoffs for the first time since 2015 when they hoisted the Lombardi Trophy.
Preach.
Oh, yeah, I'm bricked up. Where are you bricked up, Pat?
That was nice.
Thank you.
Was real nice.
No,
Bo Nix gets me bricked up too. I think he's, I think he's playing a lot better than he has. And it's like week by week, we're seeing it get a little bit better. Like some things are just improving on a weekly basis. And that's fantastic. That's the best sign you could possibly get from a fucking rookie quarterback. That's amazing. That is something to be bricked up about. And you know what? Really gets me bricked up.
Oh, I need to hear it.
Excellent.
Aside from Michael Burton.
Excellent special teams plays. That gets me bricked up. Now, I was in the Bleacher Report postgame I gave the Broncos special teams an A grade. They only got an A grade and not an A plus like they did for their performance in New Orleans because of the fake field goal attempt. Outside of that, they would have gotten an A plus. And this is why. This is why I'm break the fuck up right now, Mario. Pull up the screen. Damn it. Okay. After the Bo sack, this sucks, right? Offense stalls out. Super shitty. You're at the 41-yard line. This is not an easy punt for Riley Dixon. This is not an easy punt at all because these guys are used to just booming balls. This is accuracy. This is
I love booming balls. Yeah.
This is swing power. Like as a punter, you're teaching, like you're trying to pin them deep as possible, as deep as possible. And mind you, this Broncos special teams unit has downed how many punts at the 1-yard line this season? It's
a lot.
So many. Like almost every game, there's been at least one punt inside the 5 at the 1. It's beautiful. So here we go. They rush up to the line. They get quick set. Only 2 gone. Okay. They're trying. They know for a fact this guy's going to return the ball. Tremont Smith, lifetime contract. He missed at first, but the ball's still sitting there. Here comes Nate Kroll.
Did he get a piece of it, or did he?
It looks like he kind of got a piece of it.
I think he tipped it up a little bit.
Lucas Kroll, beautiful work to use his momentum, jumping into the end zone, foot still in, flick that ball back. And who is that?
And wait, Pat, who is that?
Who is that?
Pat?
Our Lord and Savior, J.L. Skinner. Oh my God. This gets me bricked. This is excellent special teams play. And you know what? It's even sexier from the tight. Oh my God.
Yeah, I like it tight. I like being bricked up in the tight.
They get set up quick. If my punt teams could run this efficient every single time, oh my God. Mind you, best punt team in the state, Milwaukee Mustangs from a couple years ago. I digress. This is beautiful work. Riley Dixon puts just enough on it, gets it high enough, gets enough airtime. That thing is spinning. Look at Tremont Smith.
I want to say this real quick, Pat, because people watching might not understand. This is incredibly difficult to do. What Tremont Smith is doing.
Extremely difficult.
This is not an easy thing to do, to track a ball at that angle. And it looks like he did get a piece of it.
It looks like he did, or at least tried to. Okay. But here comes Kroll. And I love this effort. He's 10 yards downfield. He's still got to get there. He doesn't know how fast this ball is going to fall. So he puts the jets on. He gets down there. Very carefully, 2 hands out, beautiful. That's what we teach. When you're running up to get that ball and it's close to the end zone, that's what we teach. 2 hands up, flip it back, okay? I've done one of these once, and let me tell you, it's really fucking fun. Foot still in, beautiful work. Used his momentum, going forward. He flicks that ball back, immediately locates. Here's J.L. Skinner, by the way. I think he was flicking to Nate Atkins all the way back here, or just flipping it up. One of those two. But he doesn't even see JL. Beautiful work. Secure it inside. Get hype. Yell in this motherfucker's face. This is why they were bitching right here. This is the first quarter. This is excellent work by the Broncos special teams. This is why they were.
Wait. I want you to run that back real quick because I noticed something, and it's objectively funny to me. So run it back, and I just want you to watch Bowman Moyer. So he's a long snapper. His sole job is to snap the ball on kick.
Whoa.
And every once in a while, listen, if you could do that, that's great. If you make a handful of tackles throughout the course of the season as a long snapper, you're fantastic. Thank you very much for your service. But just run this back, Pat.
He's got a block.
And it's funny because Bowman Moyer is in the middle of all of this, but doesn't do a single thing. It's like he just has a front row seat to this gorgeous play.
That's not Adkins.
That's Bobin Moyer is in the foreground. Running back a little bit further.
Oh.
Because Bobin Moyer was there. Kroll runs past him, and Kroll hits it, and then he's looking at the ball right here, and thankfully J.L. Skinner cuts in front of him to down it. And Bobin Moyer is just happy to be there.
Isn't that Fabroni? Isn't Fabroni our long snapper?
Oh, I have no idea. Who's Bobin Moyer? Did he used to be
he was our old long snapper?
Oh, man, now I'm embarrassed.
Now you've just ruined the credibility of this program.
Yeah, well, I don't know the name of our long snapper. I apologize, fans.
Fabroni.
Man, and I apologize for Bobin Moyer catching strays during altitude adjustment.
Fraboni?
Boner. Oh, would you like to be bricked up about this too, Pat, or what are we doing here? Ready to go full?
I mean, shit. This is just beautiful work.
No, it's fine. We're trying to have a show and you're just watching film.
I'm sorry. Okay. Anyways.
Okay, well, why don't we just settle and say that this play had the both of us equally bricked up? Because you and I talked about this, and it was like they set this play up earlier in the game. Do you want to play it?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, pull it up. We said the key to getting Adam Troutman involved is you don't use him at all for the first 6 weeks of the season, and then when you finally decide to go to him, it's a fantastic design, and he could just run for days. So walk us through this.
Let's go to the sideline. This wasn't one of the plays that I was talking, and we're back to the punt. Jesus. This wasn't one of the plays I was talking about, but it's still a really good play. So fast motion again. This is something that they've been running for the last few weeks. Adkins, fast motion to kick out this guy. It's going to look like inside zone. This is looking like outside zone. We're going to go wide. Adkins is going to act like he's blocking. Nope. We've got a wheel. Oh, my God. Tight end wheel.
Hold up. Wait, did we just see a wrinkle, Pat? Oh, Patrick, are we going to see a wrinkle of this?
So
are we going to see a wrinkle where Atkins runs?
That's where my
runs
mind
a wheel route on this.
That's where my mind goes, right?
Ooh,
because if I was designing something like this, it would be this guy gets set, they get the shift, they get the motion. We're going to try to block, like we're going to act like we're going to block this guy out here. Linebacker's gone. So we just
Atkins takes that up the field to the sideline.
Just stay on this line right here. Don't go outside the numbers. You just keep going up, just floating. Because look at where his eyes are. So we teach to go 1, 2, 3. Okay. We're looking deep. We're looking intermediate.
And where are the safety's eyes? The safety at the top of the screen right here. He's looking at the far side of the field this entire time. He never sees Adkins.
No, and they think that this is going to be a run. They're so look at how aggressive they play this, right? They see the fast motion. He's like, oh shit, it's a run all the way. So he doesn't even take a second. He's fully expecting to get kicked out here. And then he just runs by. You see what I mean? Like they're showing this motion so much that teams are starting to pick up on it.
I cannot wait for them in the coming weeks to run that same play, and they have Bo roll out, set his feet, and Adkins is wide open 30 yards downfield.
Because look at how Jules just lets Troutman go. This is zone all the way, right? This linebacker gets lost. Troutman's able to sneak behind. Bad communication here, most likely. And that's just beautiful. Like it's beautiful work by Bo to go through the progressions, right? And work into that intermediate option. Because if he was the check down,
so can we put to bed real quick the notion that Sean Payton is not drawing up creative enough plays? This couldn't have been any better.
Crazy.
And the best thing about this, Pat, is what we're talking about.
That's crazy.
There can be added wrinkles to this, where they can show the same look. They can run out of that. They can run Atkins on a wheel route. It's like there are options, and this is what Sean Payton does so well schematically.
You could even go like another wrinkle I would go with this is using Troutman as the short guy and just like clearing this out, and then not even LJ taking the intermediate, but LJ taking the deep. Just float through here. Just float, right? This guy, I think that's Court, is going to push up, right? Where does he start? So this is condensed. We're acting like we're going to block. That's the thing. So we got burst corner. The burst corner is where we take hard cut up, right? You see that little snap? He's going hard vertical. We're selling vert. And then we're going to push upfield as far as we can go because we're just clearing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could have it where, since LJ's right here, he just keeps floating up over the middle to make that safety stay true, right? Because he came down and he had to follow LJ into the flat. So he just stays true. He runs the short. Court sells vert, goes inside, sells vert, snaps hard outside.
Ooh.
And then you have the wheel backside. If all that's taken, then we would go, we're looking deep to kind of sell, to influence. We're not really throwing the deep ever, right?
No. You clear now.
We're looking 1, 2, if that's open. If they've stayed off or if they're following, 3.
In worst case scenario, Pat, here, if they play it perfectly and everything's covered, Bo can run this for minimum 7-8 yards.
Now, the wheel would be a tough throw if they played it like this, because I feel like his body language to me, he's staying open. He's peeking. So he's reading here to here. He's looking here, and then he's looking over here. So he's playing that inside. That would be a tough throw for a wheel. He would really have to rip that thing and anticipate it. But if the safety full commits to and this is why the LJ floating through this space becomes so important, is because you could influence this safety. From LJ's position right here, we can float inside the backer and just float up. That safety is going to have to take it, because if this safety is going to come down and play the flat down here, he's got to take that. That leaves the wheel open. If they rush down the corner like this, we go fake block, just right up the number. That's a better throw. So the wrinkle is there. It's in there, and it's coming.
You have it. Don't you kids love film time with Coach Pat? That's why this show is unlike anything else. We talk about what gives us football erections, but then Pat so eloquently breaks down film. There's literally no other show that does this. None. You're welcome, Planet Earth. And thank you, Coach Pat. And thank you, Mario, for making a dick segment. How many places are going to give you that? All right. Before we wrap up, one last thing that I want to talk about, and I'm going to give you my thoughts, and I'm going to see what you think. Like I said before, we knew that we were going to beat the Panthers, okay? I wish they would have beaten them by more, just so J.C. Horn could have bitched out a little bit more, but it's fine, okay? You win by 14 in the NFL against anybody. That's a huge accomplishment, all right? As we have said, toughest 3-game stretch coming up at Baltimore, at Kansas City, Atlanta at home. These next 3 games will really reveal to us how good this team truly is. And I said this last week, coming off of that Chargers game, Pat, when Surtain went out in the first play, it completely changed their entire scheme. Like, And then not only that, but like you could feel like the air was just sucked out of the stadium, was sucked out of the defense. There was no gap integrity. They were missing tackles. It was a sloppy game for the defense. So we'll put an asterisk for that for the time being. So depending on how they look in these next 3 games, and these are very winnable games now. Baltimore just lost to Cleveland.
Yep.
Kansas City is undefeated, but they might be the worst 7-0 team of all time. But no, don't do that. Don't do that, Pat. Okay? Because if you look at the point differential, the Broncos and the Chiefs in terms of points scored and points allowed, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
The only difference between a 7-0 record and a 5-3 record is one team routinely gets bailed out by the officials and one does not. The bottom line is they are a beatable team. They are not the juggernaut Chiefs that we have come to know during the Patrick Mahomes era. And this version of the 2024 version of Patrick Mahomes, he's not playing well. He's still Patrick Mahomes, okay? You're still going to game plan for him. You're still going to anticipate all the shit that he does. But this is a very beatable team right now. And I understand that no one has done it yet. And it's either they're getting bailed out or a team just shoots themselves in the foot because they're poorly coached. And this is what the Chiefs do, Pat. The Chiefs kind of stand pat. Okay? They play kind of boring, consistent football. And then as soon as a team makes a mistake, they capitalize.
Yeah.
They know that if they keep it close, they're never really out of any game and that they can win it at the end. That's their mantra, okay? Back to the point at hand. If the Broncos are able to win 2 of these next 3 games, even one of these next 3 games, but they're playing good football and you're continuing to see these kinds of throws and these kinds of decisions from Bo Nix, it's a playoff team. It's not a contender. They're not a realistic contender for any sort of championship, for the AFC West, anything like that. Maybe you sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But these next 3 games are really going to dictate how we should feel about this team as a playoff team, as a contender, as a pretender, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And one way or another, they have to win one of these next 3 games, minimum. They have to. They have to be sitting at, what will that be, 6-5? Because the back end of your schedule gets much easier than this 3-game stretch. What do you think?
I mean, I think one of these, they might have to, and they might have to win 2. I'm just saying, like, they might have to win 2, but like they absolutely have to win 1. I think Atlanta's definitely beatable. Kansas City, like, my biggest worry with both Baltimore and Kansas City is the quarterback running. Like, yes, we bring a ton of pressure, but there's going to be gaps open. Are we going to be able to contain it? Right? But let me ask you this. Do you feel like Patrick Mahomes this season has been a little more risky with his decision-making? Like, really just, like, not giving a fuck? Do you feel like that's contributed to some of the, like, shakiness? Like,
I think so, but at the same time, Pat, it's like that's kind of how he's always played, and he's gotten away with it. Right. And a large part of that is because, like, if I'm remembering correctly, he's led the league in dropped interceptions ever since he took over as the starter. That's how he plays recklessly.
Yeah.
But when you have when you had a Tyreek Hill and a more prime Travis Kelce, you have guys that can make those plays for you. They don't have a dynamic receiver. Rashee Rice is he's done for the year. Yeah. They haven't seen Marquise Brown at all. Xavier Worthy is a really good gadget player, but he's not like a really good wide receiver. He's not even close to Tyreek. No. And everybody wanted to clown on the Bills for allowing them to get Xavier Worthy. It's like, yeah, that was shitty, but Keon Coleman is a much better wide receiver than Xavier Worthy. Okay, so I don't even think that it's like he's as reckless, like he's more reckless than he was. I think it's starting to catch up with them. Yeah. I think that we're just seeing an anomaly of a year where defenders are actually holding on to interceptions. and he's kind of paying for his bad decisions. He makes a lot. He'll make 3 or 4 bad decisions throughout the course of a game. And that's how you beat the Chiefs. And that's why this team is well equipped to beat them, because it is an advantageous, opportunistic defense. They're nothing if not opportunistic, and that's what we've seen throughout the course of the year. That's how you beat this team.
Yeah.
And that's how they beat teams. They wait, they lie in the weeds until a team beats themselves, and then they capitalize on that. That's what you have to do. You have to beat them at your own game. Don't get away from what works. That's what teams do. They piss down their legs when it's the Chiefs. And you can say the same thing with Baltimore. Teams piss down their legs and they get away from what works because it's Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. As long as they play their game and the defense continues to do what they're doing, and you hope that the offense can hold up their end of the bargain, they're all winnable games. Every game on this schedule is incredibly winnable. And I've not felt this way since 2015.
Think about this defense against Kirk in Atlanta and how they've looked against pressure this year. He's looked like shit. He looks like shit when he's getting pressured. And
it's typical Kirk O'Chains, man.
But
you give it time,
he'll make some crazy ass fucking throw. Okay, last question, then we gotta get out of here. How do we feel about Baltimore's offense? This is what I'm worried about these next 3 games. Baltimore's offense versus our defense, because of how aggressive we are, and Lamar is going to be able to, like, our secondary tackling. Like, PJ has gotten shook a couple times this year. Brandon Jones has been improving week by week, but like, still, we let quarterbacks run kind of easily sometimes, and it sucks. So I'm a little nervous about Lamar and his creativeness. Deontay Johnson, will that impact it? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't see how he could impact it that much. I mean, they just traded for him today. I'm sure they'll get him up to speed. Like, he'll practice throughout the week. It'll be akin to like what we saw from DeAndre Hopkins with the Chiefs. Like, maybe he'll get it. He'll probably get like 10, 15 offensive snaps. Like, maybe they scheme up some plays for him. But I can't imagine Deontay Johnson having that big of an effect on the game this early on. It's tricky, Pat. I mean, the one receiver trade that we saw where like a receiver produced in his first game with the team was when Amari Cooper caught a touchdown with the Buffalo Bills, and it was because Keon Coleman had to tell him what route he was running 3 seconds before the ball was snapped. So no, I mean
I'm worried about likely.
He might get a few plays, but I'm not worried about Deontay Johnson. I'm much more worried about Zay Flowers. I'm much more worried about Isaiah Likely. I'm much more worried about Mark Andrews, who is starting to come on. And it was funny because Likely balled out in week 1 against the Chiefs, hasn't really done much since. And everybody was kind of clowning on Mark Andrews. They're like, oh my God, he was the third tight end taken in my fantasy league. He's not doing anything. Well, turns out Mark Andrews is still pretty good. Okay, everybody wants to know, Pat. Everyone wants to know. Muse wants to know. David Talk Bronco wants to know. Quan Alexander.
Yes.
I like Quan Alexander. Like, he's a dog.
Can't wait for this. This is going to be personal ass game for both of those dudes. I can't.
Do you think it's like that with Quan though? Like, is he still like that? He's been good. He's been good in spot duty. Okay. And it seems like he's always around the ball when he is on the field, but he's getting limited snaps. But he's making the most out of them. But I don't know if I'm going to see like some sort of revenge game.
Look, all I know is Derrick Henry historically has not played against the Denver Broncos. The last 2-3 games, he has not had good games, and he gets frustrated. And they, for whatever reason, they take Derrick Henry week so seriously in that building. They every single time. Go back and watch the last few games that he's played against us. They thump his ass, and I know for a fact, it's gonna be Al Wilson. That it's gonna be one of those games. It's gonna be personal as fuck, and I can't wait. They're gonna be talking shit, and I cannot wait. With a shot, this is. I remember James Palmer talking about in the preseason about how this environment, the defense felt like the New Orleans defenses. And I don't know about you, but I remember watching those fucking defenses on TV, and they went out there and they hit motherfuckers. This is going to be a personal game, and I can't wait. This is going to be awesome.
Give me a prediction, and then we'll get out of here.
Oh fuck, dude.
I don't need a score. Give me like a rundown of how you think it'll go or how it needs to go.
It's going to be okay. Bo's got to play perfect. Bo has to be perfect. He has to play this exact, like if I'm Sean Payton, I'm telling him during film session this week, because like you said, like he didn't make a ton of mistakes. He only made a few mistakes the whole game. And like, but that's the thing. It's like, that's perfect. That's what you want to see. So if I'm Sean, I'm like, watch this fucking film. Execute like this. If you just execute our game plan like this every week, doesn't matter who it is. It can be Kansas City, it can be Carolina, it can be every team in between. If you play like this is going to win us football games. This is what will make you a playoff quarterback. I'm telling him that right now, because you have an opportunity in the next 3 games to go out there and beat all the teams that they picked over you. You have an opportunity.
Yeah. You don't think the Atlanta game is going to be a little bit personal for Bo?
Oh, it's going to be personal, because Michael Penix is going to be watching from the other sideline. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be very cordial, but deep down inside, Bo Nix is going to take that win and just hold it right there. Because the last 2 years, him having to watch from the opposite sideline as Penix won game after game after game, it's going to be nice to get one. So yeah, that game is going to be real personal. So I'm excited. This is going to be a really good game. Dude, I don't even know if the Broncos defense can hold Lamar the same way that they held Pat Mahomes last year. I'm going to say like 24-20.
I like it.
Denver.
I roll with that.
Yeah.
And maybe the biggest X factor to them winning this game, Patrick, is center Alex Forsythe.
Oh, stop. We can't get into that right now. We gotta cut it.
We have to mention this.
My table's getting pushed up.
Went an hour without mentioning Alex Forsythe, but not to worry, because Pat and I will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we will discuss how the Denver Broncos beat the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh,
my name is Mario Vitanzi. That handsome bastard is Patrick Chiotti. And if you have Big Nick's energy, make sure you go to altitudeadjustmentshop.com and get all of your fun Bo Nix Denver Broncos needs. Or don't. I don't make any money off of it. I just want to make cool shit for you people. But if you do, use the coupon code Bo Nix on all the Bo Nix shirts, and you can get 20% off all the Bo Nix stuff. This is Altitude Adjustment. See y'all next week. Love you. Bye-bye.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a sticker.